The interview show copyright. There are similarities and differences between the solo talk show and the co-hosted show versus the interview show. The similarities will require use of the same copyright releases. You may want to review those other formats, as these copyright releases will not be explained in as much detail in this video on interview shows. Some of the differences will lead to additional copyright releases than those already discussed. Interview shows done in person are handled as though you have a co-host, except for the focus being upon the person being interviewed, rather than the focus being upon the topic which is being discussed by the co-hosts of a topic show. What this means is that you must know the interviewee and the reasons why your podcast audience would want to hear this person speak. That's right, it is not you, the host, who is speaking about your own opinions, ideas, etc. It is the guest that is drawing in your audience. You will let the person you are interviewing do the talking. You are a facilitator who sets the introduction of the interviewee. Your task is to follow their lead in which questions you might ask and let the audience learn from them. NPR, National Public Radio, has refined the art of the storytelling interview with its StoryCorps project. Since 2003, NPR has helped people share their stories with one person acting in an interviewer role to aid the other in telling their life's story. See their website to listen to samples of the wide range of stories that you can create in a podcast at URL or at sidebar link. You also can get a free download of multiple questions to frame into any type of interview you would like to present to your audience at this URL or at sidebar link. As to the technology of doing an interview, NPR assists with a downloadable app from which you can record a one-on-one conversation. You can then download that into your own computer editor. If you wish to share beyond the podcast submission to KCPK-LP, you can upload your interview story to the archives at the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. The NPR educational training will enrich your ability to be an effective interviewer. They provide downloadable lessons to help inspire your guests who may be very new to the interviewing business. You will learn how to make them feel very comfortable and to give the very best story to your audience. See this URL or the sidebar link. KCPK-LP is not responsible for the contracts you develop with your interviewee. You must submit signed talent releases along with your broadcast release for the interview show podcast. When you are preparing a contract for your interviewee, you might want to consider incorporating some of the terms that NPR uses for its StoryCorps, which can be found here at this URL or at the sidebar link. Telephone call interview. There are many free services for recording telephone calls, but you must experiment with them in your editor, as some give such bad recordings as to be not suitable for a radio broadcast. It is generally best to use a recorder along with your iPhone to do telephone interviews. Here is one set of instructions as found on the internet. You will need a cell phone, a Tascam DR40, audio cables, and adapters. For complete instructions, download the PDF in the sidebar next to this video. The FCC has rules regarding the recording of telephone calls. Please alter your contracts to include this feature. Before broadcasting a conversation live or recording a conversation for later broadcast, a station must inform any party to the call of its intention to broadcast the call. Notification is not necessary when the parties know that the conversation will be broadcast. A release from the person you are interviewing is vital. Without it, the interviewee may demand the right to edit their episode, require payment for you to distribute the podcast, request that you take down the podcast via DMCA law. You must attach any additional interviewee performance releases to your submission to KCPK-LP.